All right, I'll go ahead and call the Sherwood School District Board to order for a bond work session on September 16th. I'll turn it over to Mr. Rose.
Thank you, Chair Allen. I'm going to ask for a moment. We'll start as we usually do with follow-up to previous topics, which we don't have any. And so I'm going to move right on to technology and just a very brief update. We are between purchase cycles this summer. We expect the next summer to have the first part of our replacement cycle, the following summer to complete that. We are planning now for ordering because at this point, the delivery time frame for the Chromebooks is actually March. And so we need to be making those purchases in the next couple of months, more than likely. But we're delivery in time to have that replacement cycle happen June, July, and August of 2021. And the recent purchases we've made are all related to the transformations and completing that work. At this point for technology, we are on budget, and that is good news for us as we look to the next 7 years. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Mr. Bennett, to talk about curriculum.
Thank you. I'm so used to saying this is Gary, I almost said it before. Like it was a virtual meeting, I almost said it right here. So for a curriculum update, don't have a ton, but I'll want to bring up to speed. As you know, we completed the high school English language arts adoption last spring, and you approved a lot of books. Those books are now in the hands of teachers. We got the last couple of the stragglers in here in the last couple of days. We're finishing up with a few more accelerated 10 books that are on the agenda tonight, and then we'll wrap up that. We'll have a K-10 aligned language arts curriculum, which is really nice. It's been a lot of years in the work. It's super exciting for our kids and for our staff. As you know, we wrapped up high school social studies last year. Those books are now in the teacher's hands and kids' hands, which is good stuff. For very little money, we were able to purchase 7 years of virtual subscriptions with those. For the most part, some we could, some we couldn't. For the most part, we could, and so that will be very helpful in this world we're living in now. Middle school social studies, we talked about this a little bit. We did not find a book on the state adopted list that met our needs. We didn't find any that met the criteria nor met the standards, and so the team is working on what to do next, probably building our own and buying resources rather than relying upon a textbook that doesn't really necessarily align with Oregon standards, as there are no national standards in social studies. It's harder to find curriculum in small states that really matches your state standards. And then for elementary social studies and science, those are two adoptions we've got to get to work on. Some of that work was done actually over the summer in just preparing for comprehensive distance learning. We set some teachers up to do some work over the summer to prepare just a scope and sequence of virtual lessons for teachers to deliver at the elementary level to make their lives easier and to deliver better content. And so some of that work will be foundational in the adoption process. Quite what that looks like in the middle of a pandemic and how we roll out an adoption and what work we do, we have yet really to put pencil to paper on exactly what that looks like. We certainly won't tackle both of them, more than likely one of them. And social studies seems to be the one is the bigger need. We've got to have some conversations about that. The other thing that's on the docket for this year, on ODE's docket, is world languages, which for us is Spanish, but I haven't seen anything come out from the ESD or from ODE about any state level organization around that. Normally we see that by this time, but so we'll keep you posted on that as we learn more. The other thing I would say is related to budget. We've tracked a little bit over budget on some things. The cost overruns have largely been, we didn't do a good job. I didn't do a good job of budgeting for the high school elective courses, meaning there's so, it's not a book per student at the high school for social studies. It's sort of a book and a half or 2 books per student because of the way the courses shake out with selectives and things like that. We were under budget on lots of other things. We've got plenty of contingency to cover the budget that we are over, but we're spending more than we expected to. But we're in pretty good shape overall, but things have cost more than anticipated, but not dramatically more. The other thing is just pointing out that risk that's still out there is just some of the things we've purchased. Some science curriculum and health curriculum are both subscription based, and at the end of 7 years, you know, we will not have a textbook in our hand, and that is still a risk with the world in which we live. We have been putting that money into a sinking fund, but it's not going to be nearly enough to cover our costs long term. So we'll have to pay attention to that and make sure we're planning accordingly. Excuse me, any questions about that?
What's the order, sorry, what's the order of magnitude off that we are, so 7 years from now, about how much are we going to need that we don't have today or won't have by then? Do you have a sense of that, or?
Yeah, I need to come back to you with a solid number, but I think our health curriculum at elementary level for 7 years was roughly $100,000. And so at the end of 7 years, that would be $100,000 expense. The middle school science curriculum was significantly more than that, maybe $175,000, $200,000. And so that would be an expense there. And then the other risk, although not as big of a risk, those would be the two main digital subscription-based things we bought. Some of the other textbooks, we paid an extra a $90,000 order, and you pay an extra $6,000 to get virtual subscriptions. Those are good for 7 years. So at the end of 7 years, we would lose those, but we'd still have the book in hand. But the question is, what else do we turn up that is a digital subscription? The other thing that's out there that's a virtual subscription that I didn't think about is School Pace, which is about $22,000 a year, and it serves elementary kids. And when the teachers sit down with that reading assessment that they go through, they track the data on an iPad in a system called School Pace, and that data then follows the kids as they go through. It's really useful, but it's $5,500 per school annually, and so that will be something we'll have to cover also.
So it's a lot, but it's not astronomical. I was fearing we were talking $1 million as opposed to closer to half.
Yeah, I would say closer to half and less than a half. The risk is we just continue through this process. What else do we come across, and does that number continue to grow? And so it's not just like having a book in the hand, because you're good for as long as you need it. But so there's some risk, but it's not astronomical. I can come back with more solid numbers if you like.
That's not necessary. You got plenty of other things to do.
Okay. I'll peek at it. If it's radically different, I'll bring it back. How's that?
That works.
All right.
Thank you, Jerry. I'll move us on to our financial summary. The big changes, of course, are we're paying our bills on the transformations and continuing to pay out for the high school, so those numbers continue to grow. One bright spot I want to share with you, it's not reflected here, so we only learned about it the last couple of weeks, but the Energy Trust of Oregon has funded part of our work at the new high school, and we received a check from them just over $100,000. So that will be able to be put back into our bond work and continue funding our needs. So great news, and I appreciate that support from ETO. With that, I will move us to our focus topic tonight, which is kind of our end of summer updates. Casey and Mary are here to give us some updates, and I will let them take it from there. Mary, do you want to start?
I'd be happy to start. Can you hear me all right?
Softly, but yeah.
I'll try to project more. I'll begin at the Ridges. So this was the transformation where we shifted everybody over from Laurel Ridge to the new Sherwood Middle School. That project is closing up nicely. We ran into some delays, as many of these projects did, with COVID and then the smoke as it related primarily to the front reception remodel aspect of the project. But the team has been moving forward on that, and we're pretty close to being able to move all of the reception folks, the front office staff, into that space, which is exciting because the rest of that project, everyone has been able to move in, and the transformation is really done nicely. So teachers are now in their new classrooms. They're set up. The extended learning area is complete, and the new music rooms are complete. So like I said, we are closing in on the finish of the Ridges and are excited to show it to the public. We were a little bummed that we weren't able to show it off this past weekend, but want to make sure that everybody is staying healthy amidst our next part of 2020, which is all this smoke. I'll move over to the middle school transformation. So I had Triplet Wellman was the contractor on that project, and they have done a nice job also of closing up that project. So they're finishing all of the interior punch items. So anything that wasn't complete or the architects came back and said needed a little further touch up, that is what they're working on right now. We did run into some delays on the exterior, finishing up the exterior. The new fencing by the student canopy area was supposed to be installed last week, and we ran into delays with the fires coming on and people having to evacuate. And then the smoke levels this week have not allowed people to be working outside. So as soon as the smoke levels clear, we'll be able to get back to that, and that'll kind of be the wrap up of the middle school transformation project over there. So all in all, I think these projects have gone really well. We've had good contractors on both of those projects, and I'm excited to show it off to the community soon.
Any questions for Mary on either of those? No. All right, Casey, you're on.
Sure. Can everybody hear me? All right. So I'm first off, you guys are sitting in the new district office transformation boardroom. Congratulations. It's such an exciting space for us to be able to give to you guys. It was one that we all had our eyes on, and, excited to be able to start our first board meeting in there. Obviously you guys got a good tour before, so you know where we're at. For the most part, it's a really cool space. Jim and Heather and I were talking earlier about how it feels more like an office than it does a school, and you almost have to think about how it was a school before now that you walk through it. So it's really exciting to be able to share that with you guys now. It's exciting. Tomorrow we're moving in. You guys probably saw some of the built-in furniture that was going in. We're still wrapping that up, but tomorrow we're gonna go move the rest of the contents in. Ken and Cheryl have been there for a couple weeks now, but for the most part, we're moving the rest of the team over tomorrow, and be able to get everyone set up to start working there next week. And we're excited to be part of that. So with that, I think the things that we're kind of working on completing are just a few touch-up items on the outside with the fencing and the gates there, and just kind of landscape pieces on the backside, and random punch list items that we're finding that need to be finished with some pieces that are long leads. So but for the most part, they're pretty much complete, and it's exciting to be in there and using the facility. The EST, our new Hawksview, has become it's exciting to go over there and see the new sign. I mean, you really, once you walk in, you guys aren't able to kind of get that feel of the we're still working on finishing up the learning hub, so we're excited to kind of open that up here in the next couple days. As Mary said, 2020 keeps on giving, and last week, we were pushing to have that millwork complete, and the entire team of millworkers lives in Estacada, Malala area, and were forced out of their homes and weren't able to complete that work. So we're trying to wrap that up this week as well, fighting through the challenges that we have there as well. So it's obviously a huge project, very complex, and the Skanska team has attacked it really hard. But at the end of the day, I think, with the COVID challenges, just weren't able to kind of get that learning hub done to the point we wanted to. But we were able to move teachers in successfully on the 26th and get them into their classrooms so they could be ready to teach this week. And so that was a key, obvious milestone for us, is, keeping you guys able to teach those kids. And so that was very important to us, and we worked really hard to do that. Right now, the playground itself is in the back, is complete with the bark chip area, but we ran into a COVID delay with the slides, so we're unable to finish the slope portion of that. And now with the fires, as soon as it arrived on Thursday, we can't put it in. So we are scheduled to start that again on Monday and get the playground complete next week, and be able to take down the fence and open that up to the community when we feel that's safe. I think that I'll move on to the high school next, which we were able to do that tour and open that up to the community and kind of share that with you guys, and also the key members who were part of the design team. And it was a really cool experience for all of us to be able to share that. The Skanska team is taking up a little bit of a space over there in the green room right now, and they're wrapping up all the punch list items. The major focus is on just kind of the touch-up paint, and we focused on the classrooms over the end of August so that we weren't in the rooms at all in the month of September. And we're wrapping up those punch list items here this month and be out of there and handed over fully. So that was, you know, a really tremendous project to be a part of, and really excited about the results and to be able to share that with the community as well. Off-site construction at the high school has obviously been a challenge, so you guys have been aware of the entirety of this. Last week we were so close, we thought, to being able to get it. We had all the final sidewalk pours, we had the lighting set up to be turned on E.D. Elbert on Friday, and turn on the 99 West final lights, and we had to shut down the job due to smoke on Thursday as well. And so right now we're rescheduled, and they're starting up again tomorrow. They're bringing out some the N95 masks to be able to get back to work tomorrow, and they'll be out there getting ready to first pours of concrete again on Saturday and Monday and Tuesday to get those wrapped up, and they've got the final lighting pieces to be able to get that illuminated on Monday as well, assuming we can stay working. So we're this close, but the challenges, you know, have continued on that project, as you all are aware, and so we are looking forward to have that one behind us and be able to get the buy off on the improvements and make that be done. So I think overall, and Mary, chime in where you want, Rick as well. Our summer projects, you know, considering the challenges that we lived through with COVID, and just the concerns that the crews had, the ins and outs, you know, of, you know, there's people who stayed home for this day because they were exposed, and just the little ins and outs of that just never really allowed us to get to a really consistent flow with all of our projects. And so, you know, really proud of our contractors for pushing through and getting us, you know, kind of prioritizing our milestones of getting our teachers in their spaces, and now wrapping up our everything so that we're a fully functioning school as it is, and, you know, really just keeping the focus of the kids in front of us and fighting through the, you know, the constant barrage of challenges that were there, and also keeping everyone safe at the same time.
Any questions for Casey on any of them?
So this is Mike. So as far as getting the permits we need from the city for full occupancy, I assume that these things at the high school still need to be completed before we can get those final. And that's probably true at Hawksview as well for some of the items.
So all 4 of our transportation projects we have our final permits, and we're able to use the building exclusively for the public use. Our challenge really at the high school is, and we've been working really well with the city. So whenever we needed to do our drop off at the front entrance, you know, we called a meeting with Julia and Bob Galati, and also I've just lost my name here, the city manager. Oh, help me out, Jim. Yes, and we sat down with them. We listed our priorities. They've been, you know, open with us the whole time and kind of keeping us be able to keep having the use as needed. And so, you know, they've come through at the end and really shown, you know, the partnership that we've been looking throughout, and, you know, kind of keeping us moving, allowing us to have athletics. Well, the first day we went to go, we had 1 day of athletics there because of the smoke that happened after Wednesday. So we were able to have the spring athletes there 1 day on Tuesday last week, and we were able to do the drop off on I think Wednesday and Thursday before it got shut down. And so we were able to do kind of the essential functions that we need. But Mike, you're right, we haven't been able to get that full occupancy until we get those 3 things I listed, which is the E.D. Elbert signal, the final sidewalk buy off, and also the 99 West full illumination and sidewalks complete.
Okay, thank you.
Jim and Ken, one of the things that I've been wondering about is, you know, we knew that the board would have an opportunity to see the transformations September 12th when we were going to do those tours. And so one of the things I just like for us to be thinking about, because we're not sure when we're going to be able to do that is just when we can get board members inside of each of the transformations, because I know you're eager to see those, and you've been hearing so much about all of the work being done in there, and you've been super patient about that. And so I think one of the things we need to think about and talk about is soon how to get the board in those the other 3 transformations.
Happy to do so. It is so much fun to show off our spaces
Yeah.
and the work that this team put in the last 4 years coming together, despite the challenges this summer has possessed or brought to us.
Yep, disaster.
I can't wait to show you.
Okay, so
It's in the same vein. Are we working on any kind of how to do public tours of any of the buildings?
well, we, you and I talked about that the day at the high school, and I planted the seed in a couple of team members' ears about that. And then school started and smoke happened. So frankly, we haven't talked about that at all since then.
Yeah, as long as we've got it on the
Yeah.
radar somehow.
Yes.
Heather, I'd just like to say, I think, talk about the challenges this summer. Just yet again, our management teams just feel like they've just come, our own district team, Cornerstone, and our contractors, being able to deliver the quality and coming in on budget for all of this, and despite all of the other challenges, is just, it's Herculean. It tells us we hired the right people from the outset, and I just want to take a moment and recognize everybody that has been pulling that, because this is, any one of these challenges would be enough, but to have them all at the same time is something else. And so just a huge kudos and thank you.
We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else?
One other question, as this isn't part of the agenda, but as far as the supply pickups that happened Monday and Tuesday, did that go okay? Do parents pretty much have what they need for starting the school now? I know the middle school is on Friday, but are we okay at the elementary and high school level?
I almost just said this is Heather. We are, I haven't heard a report as of today, Mike, or actually yesterday, but I knew when we were regrouping and trying to figure out how to execute the final deliveries when we had to cancel at the end of last week. We had transportation out on Saturday delivering technology, which is just amazing if you take a second to think about what that must have looked like. And then worked really hard and started talking, I think Sunday at some point, about how to get N95 masks to all the staff to be a part of the pickup events. And I think they went well. I can't tell you for sure that every supply is delivered to everybody, but I think overall it was a success. And part of my superintendent report was going to be to just really affirm the staff members that were doing that.
Any other questions? If not, I'll go ahead and adjourn the work session.